Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Hey, George, I can think of at least 6.5 reasons why you should be excited to talk about this movie tonight.
I love how you start every episode with a pun.
I
Or
mean,
not really a pun, but like a reference.
Foreshadow reference.
Yeah, I love how he always thinks something up. He's so creative, Dan.
I gotta put in the work, man. I gotta bring our listeners into the fold,
I
grab
really
them by
love
the
it.
ears, and say, if that song wasn't good enough, now we've made it a silly joke.
Word.
I envy you.
We watched David Fincher's
I admire you.
I admire you.
fantastic 90s 90-thon, super influential murder spree noir slasher fest, Seven.
It's better now than when I first watched it, I think.
I mean,
It's darn
it's
good.
very Giallo inspired.
Yeah.
Well, it's
trench
noir
coats,
inspired.
Yeah.
French coats,
French coats.
fedoras, trench coats,
French trench coats.
trench coats, fedoras,
Dancing French clown coats.
Tredoras and French coats.
Giallos share the noir background with this movie, but I would say that this is much more harkening back to the American cinema of the 30s and 40s.
It does borrow some giallo.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
there's
like the
some-
not being able to see his face.
Slasher overlap and stuff,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The shadows.
The shadows, the coloring, the
Yeah.
scenery.
I mean,
Yeah,
I could argue
definitely.
that predates even the American noir, but maybe you'll have to wait till we watch that movie I'm thinking about. Hey, guys, what's up?
There's George's homework.
Yeah, we're already on to next week's movie. So, guys, Seven. Now, George, this is the last one for a while that you have seen before, that we are revisiting in our kind of victory lap after season 2 ended to just re-review some of your favorite movies through the eyes of a person who's actually seen other movies now and see how the movies age in front of your eyes. So, welcome back to that.
I think it's kind of fun. I think we should continue throughout, just every once in a while throwing one in that you've seen,
Sure.
but with a different eye. I think we'll get something out of it, because especially a movie like this where you feel like, oh, it's a great movie, I love it, and not having any influence, and now watching it and finding out you might love it more. That's how I feel. Like I even after doing this show, I love this movie more because of things that I didn't know before.
I don't know, man. I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, because I liked it just as much as I liked it the first time I watched it. Actually, this movie, Travis, right before I went to college, tried to fix me back then. I mean,
It's
make me a movie
haphazard.
watcher,
Right.
back then. And this was one of the movies that he showed me. I was like a senior in high school or something, just about to go off to college, and I was like blown away by it, like mind blown.
Yeah.
By this movie. That has not changed. I think when I was watching the movie the first time, I was really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes for tonight. Dude, it's a damn near perfect movie.
It's damn near perfect.
The execution
no complaints.
is so good. Now, George, let's take your Fincher temperature real quick, if you'll indulge
Okay.
me. Have you ever
Sure.
seen any of the following movies? Gone Girl?
Gone Girl? No.
No.
The Social Network?
Was that like a documentary?
No.
No, it was like a biographical story about Zuckerberg and all the people that made Facebook.
And they all lived
No.
happily ever after.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Right.
How about
He's working recent backwards.
Zodiac?
I've heard of Zodiac, but
We brought it up a couple times.
I have not seen it.
Okay, now most important of all, have you ever seen the music video for the song "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off" by Jermaine Stewart?
What? No.
What? Dude, that's like the most 80s video I can think of. I bring that up because David Fincher, before he did Alien 3, exclusively did the most 80s music videos you can think of. The guys like The Outfield, Madonna, Jermaine Stewart. David Fincher was your guy. And then he did Alien 3, more music videos. And then this movie is like his first, like his own IP movie. Can you believe the quality of his execution coming from the music video world?
No.
I mean, if he could do it, Rob Zombie's surely going to do great.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a masterpiece. I don't know.
Hearing that makes my mind hurt even more. Like I was introduced to him apparently through music videos because I didn't know he did that video. But when I saw Alien 3, I was so looking forward to Alien 3 that I bought the script a year and a half before the movie came out and I read it.
Oh, wow.
And I could not, I found it at like some convention. It said Alien 3 on the cover. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm buying this because, you know, it had been 10 years since Aliens. And I'm like, I'm interested. And I read it and it was really cool. And then when the movie came out, I liked it. A lot of people didn't. Then I found out that I really liked it because of the nuance, the grittiness, everything that happened in this movie was so the opposite of Aliens.
Yeah.
But it still was a good story and well done. So I guess I was a Fincher fan pretty early, but then I found out that his movie wasn't the one that was finished. Like they butchered the shit out of it, and the studio did. So the Fincher cut, yeah. The Fincher cut is way better. It's pretty much the script that I read.
Hey, so before we go any further talking about Seven, I want to frame this conversation around Jermaine Stewart's video just so George can understand the leap. I sent you a link.
You don't have to take your clothes off. That's all?
Oh, yeah. So,
oh, my God.
I'll cut all this out so we don't get in trouble with the copyright police. But, George, take 3 minutes and watch this video. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Okay.
Did you get the basic idea? You don't need to finish the whole video?
I hate this song.
What?
And I hate this video.
What?
I disagree with it, actually, in fact.
You know, the Reagan administration actually made him like an ambassador for a little bit.
I'm sure they did.
To teenage abstinence or whatever. They were like, yeah, drinking alcohol underage, we're cool with that, but keeping your clothes on, that's the Reagan way. But hey, back to Seven, George, you can see the through lines from, you know, the camera angles and the jogging in place drummer on the electric kit. I mean, it's just,
yeah,
you can see how he walked right on the set of Seven and was just like, okay, let's just keep doing what I do.
It's like Fincher's been making quality material from day one.
My mind hurts right now. Like I would think that
if anyone hasn't seen this video that's listening, please
terrible.
Go watch it. Just pause this, go watch the video, come back.
I would have been not shocked if Dan said he directed a couple 9 Inch Nails videos. Or maybe a couple Metallica videos.
Anyways, the point of the matter is the video was terrible.
Oh, it's a wonderful video. You just have no heart. Hey,
if I only had a heart.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, Tin
now
Man
that
over
song's
here.
gonna be in my head.
So, the opening of Seven, not the cold open, but like the
punch that guy in the face.
The credits.
I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
The credits of Seven. Feel a lot like a Tool video.
Yes.
Or a 9 Inch Nails video. It helps that like they're scoring it with a remix of a 9 Inch Nails song.
Mm-hmm.
But aesthetically, visually, if you didn't know what song was playing, it looks like kind of like Sober, the Tool video.
Yeah.
Same kind of mid-90s scary grunge aesthetic. What are those guys? Industrial? Is that what they are?
Oh, Tool?
Yeah, Tool, 9 Inch Nails, those guys.
It's not grunge, but it's like grunge.
They're
scary
metal,
grunge.
I guess. Grunge metal. I think that's what they used to call it back then, like that Disturbed.
Pearl Jam with an attitude problem.
Pearl Jam with like skulls.
What is nu metal?
That's like Korn and Limp Bizkit. That's the stuff my kids swear is not real music.
Limp Bizkit?
Limp
Bizkit.
Bizkit.
Can we?
I can't believe Korn and Limp Bizkit are in the same genre.
Yeah, they used to tour together with Rammstein.
Oof.
But I like Rammstein, so I will not say mean things about them.
So picture me, 1995.
Okay. You had a
More
lot more
hair.
hair then.
Yeah, more
A
hair.
lot more hair,
Wow.
less belly.
Wow, we both went there.
That was like working at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I might have watched the opening credits about 180 times. Like, I would set my watch to go every time. This movie would probably play about 6 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would watch the opening credits every time. Like, this movie was the kind of movie that I
So 6 times a day, you watched it 180 times.
I
what's
worked there
that?
for 9 years.
It's a month's worth of working at the movie theater?
At least.
Yeah.
But there were about 9 scenes in this movie that I would go stand in the back of the theater and watch. Like that the ending, I probably watched that the same amount of times. Like, it was this and A Few Good Men, movies like that where there's like certain parts of the movie where you have to watch it. My Cousin Vinny, like, I would put this DVD on and just go to those chapters 3 times a day. I could and watch them over and over and over. Like, there's just so many. But the credits, normally you don't sit and watch credits.
Yeah.
But it's just so cutting edge for the time. Like, a lot of people tried to copy this afterwards, but this was like one of the first movies that did that. Like, the credits were a little bit of its own little cinema.
Yep.
It tells the whole story in the credits, pretty much, if you pay attention.
I still can't believe this is New Line Cinema.
Hmm.
I can't believe anything about this movie. This movie should never have happened. On paper, this movie blows. Because you've got the Freddy Krueger, Jason Goes to Hell studio.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Jason Goes to Hell. Taking the guy who directed We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off and half of Alien 3. And you're going to have him direct Brad Pitt, who I love now in his new stuff. But 12 Monkeys era Brad Pitt. And it's just like, I don't know.
A-list when this movie came out.
I know, I don't get it.
He started off
Fight Club?
That was later.
Yeah, it was later, but I mean, it's the same
Fight
time.
Club's
96?
later. He's growing into Fight Club, Brad Pitt.
Growing into Fight Club, yeah.
In this
Which
movie,
is also
Brad
David
Pitt,
Fincher, right? So
Meet Joe Black, right?
I felt like Brad Pitt in this movie to start was like a little much with the acting, right? And then actually, it hit me like that kid from Breaking Bad, Jesse. Like, have you guys seen Breaking Bad?
I have not.
No.
Oh, jeez,
We watch movies here, not TV shows.
for everyone else in the world who's seen Breaking Bad, you'll know what I'm talking about. Jesse is a character where, like, when he first opens his mouth, you're like, "What is this dude? Seriously?"
He's at 11.
And then by like season, I don't know how many seasons there were. Probably
Basically,
like
Will
6.
Ferrell in every movie he's in.
But like by the end, or like by the middle of the series, like he's still talking like that. He's still acting like that. You're like, that's just Jesse. It's you know. But that's how kind of.
But
how
in this
was.
movie, I think it's
by the time you get to
professional thought.
By the time you get to
necessary.
the end, though,
yeah,
dude, the end.
But he's that way the whole time. You do need it.
I do have a question
Yes.
for Mr. Pitt, though. What is going on just out of frame up and to the left? Because at the beginning of the movie, he delivers half of his lines up and to the left instead of looking at Morgan Freeman or anything else in frame. And then in the car ride out, toward the end of the movie, he's looking in that same spot while he's talking. I'm like, bro, what's over there? Cue cards?
Direction. Could be direction. I think
weird.
He's accessing the creative part of his brain.
No, I think the way I read it, because I noticed that too. He doesn't make much eye contact, and I think he has confidence issues, which might be a character
IRL
study
or
thing,
or in the show or in the movie.
I don't know. No, I think in the movie, I think it might be a character choice where he's playing from the beginning. He's playing somebody who's a loose cannon. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Morgan Freeman. He's supposed to be playing the opposite of Calm, Cool, Collected. veteran.
Absolutely.
You know, by the book, uber educated, all that stuff. So he's playing the street cop that became a detective. So he's like, I when he's looking off, I just think he's not going to make eye contact with you because he's not really sure he believes his bullshit sometimes. And usually when someone's lying or putting up a front, they don't make eye contact.
Yeah, I heard that. I kind of took it as like he's just kind of like aloof.
He's aloof, yeah.
Yeah, like he was trying to act like aloof. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think he was trying to act aloof. I think he was playing aloof.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Like, I think that was a character choice.
Yeah.
As in the acting world, they call that making choices. Like, when you see somebody make a choice, if they believe that choice, then you go along for that ride. If they don't believe what they're doing, you're not going to believe what they're doing. So when they make those choices, and it is a choice, they have to. And I think in this movie, in this context, it works. Maybe in 12 Monkeys it did not work, but in this it works because he's probably given the direction from the director and probably his acting coach or maybe even himself. I have to be the opposite of Morgan Freeman, and I know what Morgan Freeman is, so I'm going to do the opposite. And he does that very well.
Yeah. Agreed.
Did you notice that this movie shares like the color palette with Batman Begins? And also, like, half the cast is also in Batman Begins. That's a slight exaggeration, but I was surprised to see.
One.
No,
one person?
Mark Boone Jr., the guy he's like the stinky fed at the cafe.
Yeah.
He plays Flask.
The stinky fed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember him? Yeah.
So I just thought that was
Swear to
interesting
me.
for him,
Yeah,
for that guy to pop up in this movie that looks just like that other movie, but way different modus operandi. But I think we could all agree that there's a lot of this performance from He Who Shall Not Be Named as John Doe. That's kind of convenient that he's John Doe in this movie because we don't have to talk about him that much. But his performance toward the end of this movie does influence the Joker's performance in Dark Knight quite a bit.
Well, I think the character of the Joker is a lot of things he does in the movie are taken from this movie.
Oh yeah, for
which
sure.
is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it. Like it's the whole giving himself up and orchestrating this whole chaotic scheme to get yourself to an end means, and it looks chaotic, but it's methodical.
Who is this guy? No prints, no records, don't know anything. He likes knives, This guy also had a gun, but Joker had a gun sometimes.
They're not as personal.
I didn't even think of that.
Well, that's why we do this show, because sometimes we
you
have to
remove his
highlight
fingerprints. No prints, no ID.
Yeah.
He's John Doe. The Joker was John Doe.
Yeah.
And he just wants his phone call.
He just wants his phone call.
But he knows how to use an RPG, and John Doe,
Right.
I don't know that he does.
Well, it's kind of hard to shoot when you're holding groceries.
Good point.
Although that one scene when he finally outruns him and then comes back and puts that gun to his head, that's so 1930s film noir. Like it just the rain drenched gun, the perspective, like it was like almost like Sin City.
Yeah, it's very Frank Miller.
Yeah.
It's what Frank Miller uses from that era, from the early days of cinema, to inform his own works in the 80s and 90s. It's all sharing that same DNA. And it's just super well shot. Like that may be my favorite scene in the movie as far as like technical delivery from the cinematographer. Just the gun in frame, gun out of frame, and the violence of it leaving. Oh man. Really well shot.
And the shaky camera in the hallways.
Oh yeah.
With the steady cam, it's a good 2.5 minutes of organized chaos.
It's a heck of a cast, though. I mean, we shouldn't neglect Gwyneth Paltrow before she took up geology. She does the lines in this movie. She's not in it very much, which is a shame. Because I can't really rate her performance, right? Like her most pivotal scene, she doesn't really provide a whole lot. I'm referring to the box.
I think the subtleness
I'm referring to the box.
The box, right?
Yeah, of
The
course.
subtleness of her character, it works though because it makes it. There's enough foreshadowing to what's going to happen that you still don't expect it because she's not in it enough to where you're going to think she's going to be part of the plan.
Yeah,
But
that's
she's
a really
the integral part of the plan.
it's
Like,
a
she is the
gutsy
plan.
move for them to do to under feature her
Mhm.
to put her out of sight and out of mind for the audience. That's
Yeah,
a
but they
good
give her
move.
just enough to do, and she's like, he loves her. All that little banter they do, like, you know, he comes in the room and she calls him idiot and he calls her stupid. Like that to me, I love that because that's the way my wife and I are. Like we joke around like that, and if people heard it on the outside, they'd be like, "Oh my god, what is wrong with these
I
people?"
thought it was because you are an idiot.
No, well,
And
she's stupid.
she is stupid ass.
But but we'll do this. It's like because they were high school sweethearts. Like it's just that 17-year-old banter that just survives. And you're aware of that too because you're the same way with your wife.
Yeah.
So it's like they do a good job at showing his love for her, but almost like it's unconditional and it's sweet, even though he's an asshole. Like it's a sweet somebody.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole the whole thing about high school sweethearts. They've these two people have grown
They've
together.
gone through a lot.
They're not the same
Right.
people that they were in high school,
Mhm.
and they've grown together. It's just a weird thing that happens. It's not weird. It's awesome when that happens
Right.
to
Which opens
two
up
people. Yeah,
Somerset because he's so recluse and he's
the opposite
he's
of
the
that.
opposite of that.
Like we
So-
said, yeah, he's the opposite. Yeah.
but they open him up, which is good. They give him hope because he has zero hope in humanity. But he sees them; they get him laughing. Like he kind of sees
at
some
the
normalcy
time-
in their
at
relationship.
The time, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
But then,
I don't think the events of the rest of the movie really
No.
gave him any hope at
but
all.
I think they did it on purpose. Like
Yeah,
everything's done on purpose.
absolutely.
Like the rain, like everything in this movie. When you're watching it, you're like, oh, okay. That once you watch the full movie, like it ends in sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst shit happens in
Mhm.
sunshine.
I love the metronome at the very beginning of the
Mm.
movie during the cold open. Just
Yeah.
this,
That ticking.
What's the
this-
deal with the metronome?
So he's in this chaotic
Pace.
space that he doesn't like, right? And he's
Uh-huh.
drowning out the sound of fighting and chaos with order. Just tick,
Mm-hmm.
tock, tick, tock. And he's literally like waiting on the moments to pass until he retires and is free.
Right.
So it's like this double thing where,
Mhm.
he's shielding himself from the chaos of the world and giving himself like order, but also literally ticking away the last moments of this career that you can tell he's ready to be done with.
Right.
He's getting too old for this shit.
He's getting to it. He's No Country for Old Men. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap with his arc, the Morgan Freeman arc with Tommy Lee Jones in No Country,
Absolutely.
just with more mutilation and stuff.
Yes.
Ew.
They do a really good job with all that. Just the way, like, I mean, Travis is making a face like, of course, duh. Then I'm making like,
Well, I'm gonna start a section in this an episode of instead of guns, I'm gonna be like acting.
No,
Like,
no,
there's
I'm
just
talking
so
about
much-
the gore. Like,
okay,
the
yeah.
gore, the effects.
Well, it's
You know,
Rob
the-
Bottin, isn't
the-
it? I mean, it's like
Yes.
the best. Besides
Botine, I
Tom.
think. Is it Botine?
I don't know
or
how
is
to
it
say his
Bottin?
name. I just see it
I
always
think it's
written.
Botine.
Sure.
I feel like they showed me just enough to gross me out.
Well, you know him from The Thing
Yes.
and RoboCop.
Like, for example, when they're in the, I guess the coroner's lab,
Mm-hmm.
and the dude's like just holding up the stomach. It's like you
Which
never
is
just
probably
see
like
it.
a real
You
stomach.
never just see a stomach
Right.
like outside of a body. I was like,
The detail on that body, like
yeah,
the all the incisions and the
Mhm.
stitching up, and then his nutsack and like his like that's
Wait,
not a
there
real
was
person
there
laying
was a
there.
nutsack.
Yeah, like it's a fully anatomically correct dummy laying
I missed
there.
the nutsack.
It's weirdly beautiful.
No.
Like that scene when they go into that apartment and you
my
start looking
God.
as a special. I love special effects. I love
Yeah, of course,
practical
of course.
effects. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about his nutsack.
Oh, I thought you meant he had a beautiful nutsack, and I was just gonna love this moment.
When they go into that room, it's a dark room, but you're getting the detail from the flashlights. So you're seeing Gluttony. We won't call him the fat guy.
Yeah.
You're seeing Gluttony laying there, and the more they hover over this body and they're moving things around, like I'm looking at the detail, the veins around the
Yeah, I think
tie-up
everyone's
and
that hit everyone.
like all
in
the
the eye, yeah.
blemishes and like all the there's so much detail on that body. When you see it laying there, you know that's a fake. That's not a real person.
I don't know if
That's all makeup.
True.
That's a fat suit. It's not a person
Well,
that
yeah.
looks like that. So the suit the actor is wearing is made to look like obscenely obese
Right.
and like almost like breaking at the seams.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So
what you're
it's-
saying is on the outside. What's on the
it's
outside
makeup.
is not. Yeah.
But then that's a dark room and it's lit by flashlights. But then the next time you see that guy, next time you see Gluttony, he's in a fluorescent bulb lit room laying on a metal table, and there's not a sheet over him. There's nothing to hide the detail of that dummy. So you're looking at it and you're like, holy shit, that the detail, like go back and look at it. I'm not saying look at his
I'll
nutsack,
have to.
but like at like the toes, I mean it's a fat suit. The toes, the bulbous feet, the elbows, the huge like veiny sacks, like that's all painted.
You know what I liked when they showed you the picture? Like it was way towards the end of the movie. They showed you like all the pictures he had that John Doe had in his apartment of all these people that he was torturing or whatever. He had his like feet tied together under the chair. There's a picture of his feet.
Yeah.
It was like,
Are you talking about the opening credits?
was it the opening credits?
I think
no,
the opening credits has all kinds of photos and stuff.
No.
in it.
This was when they raided his apartment.
Oh, okay.
And you see,
So he was taking souvenirs of his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just like with the level of gore, it wasn't too much where it was like too much.
Right.
Not believable. It was so disgusting but so believable.
It's like a Michael Crichton movie. Like everything in it, there's scientific
It's
basis
like-
behind what they've done.
It's almost like, you know how like things, the most scary things are the things that are real.
Right.
You know, the things that could actually happen. Like those are the most scary
Look at
things.
the sloth scene.
I s-
Holy shit.
yeah.
So good.
That's some of the best makeup work I've ever seen. Like he's laying there. It's almost like Greg Nicotero was inspired by this movie to make every zombie he's ever made since then. Like,
Yeah.
the
That's a
lipless-
100% like animated thing though, right? Like that's not a
What-
dude
what's
in a
that?
suit. The sloth. That's got to be just a
When he's laying there, that might
practical
be
effect.
that
I don't
might be
think
a practical.
I don't think that's a
but-
dude.
But he does move.
Yeah,
he's-
but
he's-
I mean, they move in the thing too. I think that's Rob Bottin. I think he got you, Rob Bottin.
I don't know.
I think it's Bottin. I'm gonna go with Bottin.
It might be Button. We'll go with Button.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Rob
Because the actor playing that part could be thin
RoboCop
enough
Bottin.
to do that. They do it in
Maybe.
Pet
I
Sematary
think
too. There's a
I-
Well,
character.
let's see. Does Sloth have a
Well, I have a
an
whole
entry.
second disc in my set that I can pop in and probably find out if it's an actor in a suit or if it's. I think it's an actor in a suit.
I think it's an effect, just like in
All right.
Life Force, that skeleton guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
so in the
But that looked puppeteered.
in the
this
cr-
does not look puppeteered.
in the credits, the credits roll as like in order of appearance, right?
Mhm.
So there's the gluttony victim, Bob Mack. Shout out to Bob Mack.
Mm.
Greed. No, let's keep going. Sloth victim, Reed McKay. McKay.
Michael Reed McKay.
Oh, Michael Reed
Michael Reed McKay.
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 So there was an actual person playing Sloth at some point.
But there's a man in the pictures.
Yeah,
And
that's
when you look at those pictures,
Ah,
when you look at those pictures and you get to like the last three, they're disturbing. Like he's literally looking at it. He's like, he almost looked like Mrs. Bates at the end of Psycho. Like his lips are so shriveled. Like it's amazing.
It was
Whether
actually
it's a dummy or not.
If they did a sequel to Machinist, I think that's where we'd end up with Christian Bale.
Okay.
He's like the next level after Machinist was Sloth.
Yeah, didn't he lose like 180 pounds?
Oh, it was too much.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But I'm gonna look it up. It's irrelevant because whether it's practical or if it's an actor wearing appliances, it's still friggin' amazing.
See, now
it's a hell of a gag.
I thought you had. Well, I guess not. I was just thinking that I thought you had to like actually say something to have your name in the credits, but
no.
And
so
he
you're
doesn't
saying
say a
Michael
line.
Michael Reed McKay. Yeah, but he moves and makes a noise.
Shrieks.
Yeah. But you're saying you think that Michael Reed McKay is just the guy in the pictures and not the
Well, if that thing is a prop, then yes, he's the guy in the pictures, and that's why he's got credit. I think they got a thin actor to play. I think it's somebody wearing a latex appliance suit.
And it
That's
could
my
be that he was
professional
like
thought.
doing a Savini, where it's like the body is above and it's just
Yeah,
a
but
head
the
stuck
face
through a
isn't.
table.
Yeah.
The
Whatever.
the way the body
Whatever-
moved, it just reminded me of Life Force.
All right,
a
so
lot.
check this out. Whatever is going on in that scene,
It's
it worked
fucking amazing
because we don't know what the fuck
Right.
they were doing in that scene.
It's like
so-
Jurassic Park. At what point is that an animatronic dinosaur?
Exactly.
We don't know.
And that is hats off to friend of the show.
And that's when we're introduced to California, who's
botanist.
John Is it McGinley?
John-
McGinley? He's like one of my favorite character actors. He's all over the place.
Oh, Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
From Scrubs, yeah.
Shrubs. I'm so tired.
From Scrubs. But when this movie came out, he became. There's a character in I think The Fugitive. He's the one who makes up the word hinky in The Fugitive. George hasn't seen it yet. But,
No.
We gotta watch The Fugitive.
We have to watch it. But there's a character in that movie. He played Jay Leno in the Late Night Wars movie for HBO. Like he's a comedian. He's been around forever. You see him in all kinds of movies, but he plays this character in The Fugitive where you're like, okay, he's only on the screen for maybe 5 minutes total, but everything he says is great.
Yeah.
That's the way McKinley is. McGinley is in everything he does. So when he's in this movie, he's not really doing much verbally, but he's so good. Even if he's playing like Cop A or Helicopter Pilot B, like he's going to put it in 110%. He eventually became a big actor where he's like actually in movies and is like billed. But this was early.
So I'm looking at these credits and Victor Sloth appears before
John
Doe.
Do you remember when John Doe appeared first?
Well, I believe it was as the reporter.
Yes.
And that was a detail that I had forgotten
Hmm.
because when I saw the reporter this time,
You're
thought,
looking out for him.
No, I
Oh.
was not that I was looking out for him. I just had the thought. I was like, "Holy shit, was that?" No. Like,
Well, they tell you later by the developed pictures in the house,
exactly.
right?
And then
Mhm.
when they're rating the apartment and the pictures, and we had him. He was a reporter. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
Again, foreshadowing, because at the end he says, how easy it is for the person of the press to get your,
exactly.
which Freeman says directly at that
Yep.
scene. He's like, they pay good money. What's
Yep.
funny with this movie is Kevin Spacey, he who shall not be named.
We can say Kevin Spacey.
All right, I'll
You
say
can
Kevin
say his
Spacey.
name. He sucks, but you can say his name.
As a person, he sucks. As an actor, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he sucks as a person.
Because he's a psychopath. Yeah.
Right. This movie came out the same year that Usual Suspects came out.
Mm-hmm.
The very same year. In both movies, he was a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And in two movies in the same year, he becomes the it guy because of these little Hannibal Lecter type scenes that he has. Because it's like Hannibal Lecter. He's only
100%.
technically on screen for, what, 12 minutes.
Well, he combines Hannibal Lecter with Buffalo Bill, though, because you
Yes.
get the exploration of his house, the very Ed Gein, Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like line of creepy places full of like dead people and smells. This movie just picks up and keeps
But you
that
also
ball
get
rolling.
the Norman Bates.
But you also
get
get
the
Norman
Norman Bates
Bates,
moment.
and you get the Hannibal. Oh man, it's a heck of a performance.
Yeah, the scene in the car when they're driving to the spot is so Norman Bates.
I could watch that for 2 hours.
Oh my god! If the whole movie was that, I'm on board.
Now, did you catch, George, the very, very intentional choice from the director and the cinematographer in the cop car? Do you know what I'm referencing? I haven't given you enough yet, but I'm just asking.
Do I know what you're referencing?
Very intentional.
Every
cop
shot
car.
of Brad Pitt and every shot of He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Oh, yes. Hold on before you say it. It's from The Other Side of the Grate.
Exactly. But every time they show Morgan Freeman,
it's not.
It's not.
It's not. So it's that thing where it's like, I'm not trapped in this car with you. You're trapped in this car with me. Kind of like they share a similar cage and fate.
Again.
And it also foreshadows the end.
Again, it's Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
With the plexiglass.
With the plexiglass. But if you think about it, one of the final shots in this movie is Brad Pitt in the backseat of a police car behind the cage.
Just like the Joker in those last two movies we watched. Guys, it all connects.
Thank you. Good night. I love when he says, "You're no messiah. You're a movie of the week. You're a fucking t-shirt." Like that's a great line.
Oh, did you guys catch too? We had Merchant of Venice pop up. So we've got Shakespeare in here too. I'm pretty sure this is a prequel to the Nolan trilogy. It's all here.
Might be.
It's all here. And it's in the Star Wars universe.
That made me feel smart because Merchant of Venice is the only Shakespeare that I read.
There you go.
In high school.
And I thought of that when I was watching Seven. I was like, oh, George will know that one.
It was the Pound of Flesh. I'm like, oh, I know what that's from. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, Merchant of Venice. And I was like, I knew that. I'm so smart.
I own 2 copies of Dante's Inferno and the Chaucer Tales because of this movie.
Do you find yourself compulsively buying copies of those books every time you find them at a store? Because if you do, I've got the movie for you.
Yeah.
You're on an FBI list for sure.
No, but for some reason, I was like, oh, I'm going to read these. So when I saw them at a flea market or whatever, I was like, oh, I'll buy it. So I have a copy of each of those. I never sat and freaking read them. I can get the Cliff Notes like Mills.
Oh, by the way, yeah, shout out to Cliff's Notes.
Yeah. Makes them sound like
make an appearance in this movie. They're not in the credits, but they're there.
That's a big thing in the 90s. Finding the Cliff
well, we
Notes.
just had this conversation when we were watching
Julius Caesar.
Yeah. That I literally paused the movie and read the Cliff Notes. Because I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Just because the son of a bitch has a library card doesn't make him Yoda. He does have some of the best lines in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I have no complaints, man.
He's a nutbag.
I have no complaints. The only thing I thought was, the way they set up the ending, and I know that there's no realistic way to get John Doe and these 2 detectives in a field by themselves. You know what I mean? There's no situation in real life when that would happen.
There is. They could have. I mean, the whole taking them to see the body, but there would have been more people going.
John Doe
had way
not
too much power.
Be there. Right.
It depends. If he's playing enough of the game, and because they kind of set that up in the room with the lawyer, where he's like, he will show you where the bodies are.
That's actually pretty common practice to take suspects out to show you where they hid the bodies.
But he has to go with you. That's not uncommon. And the fact that they had the helicopter trailing behind, like he didn't ever say to them, show up but don't bring any cops. Like that's always in a movie, be there but don't have any cops with you. But it's a common thing for the criminal to lead the authorities to a body and be there. It's not really common.
So what I was thinking was his leverage on the cops to complete his mission or whatever, his work, was that, well, if you don't just do everything I said, I'll just plead insane and get off. It's like, that's not like...
He could.
I mean, you can try. Go ahead and try. Would he get off though? Like,
I think so.
They're not going to release an insane
release
person.
Not, but he would get off. He would
he would
go to a hospital. He wouldn't go to jail.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's the same thing.
But in the end, they could get out of a hospital.
I don't know. And the only thing that was the savior was that at the scene, they reported that it was the girl with the face cut off. Her blood,
and then,
John Doe's blood, and the blood of a third person.
Right. As yet unidentified.
Yes. And so that was the only thing where it was just like, okay, all right, you drug me along, fine, let's go. Now, like,
he did lead them to two
there.
bodies.
I understand that, but I just felt it was like, it was just icky.
And a dead dog.
At the end, yeah,
I didn't do that one.
I didn't do that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, by the way, Arleigh Ermey is in this movie, and you hardly notice it because he's not playing himself for once.
Although a few times he does.
This is not even my desk. Yeah. So good.
Wait. Work on it.
Let me see your war face. What are you talking about?
The captain. Is the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
And he has one little moment where I was waiting for him to say, Private Pile!
Yeah, this is not even my desk line.
Yeah.
Made me laugh out loud. That's so good.
That's a J. Jonah Jameson moment.
When he picks up the phone.
This is not even my desk.
So good. And guys, Full Metal Jacket we talked about with Dark Knight Rises, with the Joker from Full Metal Jacket. All these movies are in the same interconnected discussion, and it kind of blows my mind. I don't know why. They're just so close to each other.
I'm gonna have to watch it again, see if I can find anything else. I wasn't looking for Batman connections. I was looking more.
I'm always looking for Batman connections.
Yeah, I know.
I've got bat brain these days, guys.
Someone's got bats on the brain. Batman Forever.
Ugh.
What kind of a man has bats on the brain? Tommy Lee Jones.
Ugh. Which connects back to No Country for Old Men and The Fugitive. Guys, it's all one.
It's there.
It's all, I mean, these are movies that exist in the world. That's why they connect. Because we're in the world with the movies.
I did have another Hannibal Lecter feel, too, when he was in the library and they were playing that classical music. I was just like, wow. Because when he was looking for, like, it was totally a Hannibal Lecter moment.
Well, and we shouldn't overlook the fact that this movie comes out in the shadow of that movie. I mean, this is the post Silence of the Lambs wave, so this movie does a lot more. Seven does a lot more with it, with the opportunity than a lot of these movies, right? Like Backdraft, I'm looking at you, you know, like, ugh. But sorry, George, we're not watching Backdraft anytime soon.
No, we're not watching Backdraft.
But, you know, a lot of movies came out that were influenced by the success of Silence of the Lambs, and this one is one of those movies, but it carves its own path pretty well.
There is a movie that I think we should watch that kind of, I don't know what year, I guess it was like 97. It's called Primal Fear.
I think you've brought that up before.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if George has seen Primal Fear.
I've heard of this movie.
It's Richard Gere plays a lawyer.
Richard Gere?
Yeah. I thought your wife actually has seen it, so you probably have seen it. But I don't think Dan has.
Hold on a second.
I don't think I have, no.
So that might be a good, not a follow-up to this, but something we should probably watch at some point. I wouldn't say it's as much of a masterpiece, but it's as good of a movie.
Primal
if that makes
Fear.
sense.
No.
It's got a very young Edward Norton in it before Fight Club.
And the Hulk.
I didn't even like Fight Club.
I'm not. It's not the kind of movie I watch over and over again. I won't say I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good.
I didn't
movie,
like it at all.
but it was. It's not a. It's not a rewatch for me.
Not at all.
But David Fincher also did The Game, which is a movie I brought up that we need to watch at some point.
And I bought that because I know we'll watch it at some point.
Yeah.
So I have it here. I haven't watched it yet, but I know
Very
it's around. So coming up next week, guys, I think we ought to keep our hands in the. Not our hands. That sounds gross. I think we ought to. Coming up next week, I think we ought to stay in kind of the same ballpark.
We should keep our balls
in the beautiful nut-sacks.
Yes.
we
So
should keep our nut sacks.
That was a beautiful nutsack.
I'm gonna have to go back right now and watch that.
Dude, I'm telling you, the craftsmanship on that autopsy scene.
Dude, we need a Patreon for this kind of shit.
It's ridiculous.
I'm going back. It's going slow as shit, but I'm going.
Well, while George is on a quest for the beautiful nutsack, we'll just tell you that next week, George and Travis are going to venture out into the world, sit their butts in a theater, and watch The Batman.
Well, I'm excited because I wanted to see it, and I want to see it because it hasn't been ruined for me. I don't know if there's anything worth
There's
ruining.
really no spoilers in it to
I would have been
it.
so mad if people had spoiled certain things for me. I watched
Yeah.
it last night, and it is
Yeah,
going to be
so-
something to talk about next week, so I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to take anything away.
So I only have to avoid, people for another week. And
You can continue to avoid people. That's fine.
Yeah,
after that.
There's so many benefits to
yeah,
avoiding people.
I probably will anyway. But yeah, cool.
But with that, thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. We'll see you back here next week for The Batman.
Something tells me we did not talk about this movie enough. I don't know what we're missing, but I know later on.
The thing about Seven is it's so good that there's nothing to complain about. And we've already sung the praises of all the actors, so what else are you going to do?
Fix.
Just
nothing to fix.
Boy, it sure was good. Let's watch it again. It's just turn it on again and watch it from the beginning.
I guess we can discuss if John Doe was sitting in the diner and overheard them talking about the baby.
Was he?
I don't know. That's one of the things that was a controversial discussion.
Oh, see, that's one of those things that is like the James Gum perfect amount of ambiguity, because he could easily hear, she could mention it while he's trying to kill her, or he could find a pregnancy test, or there's a lot of things that.
Well, here's the thing:
Did
the
she
only thing
plead for the life of the unborn child, right?
That's the thing. She apparently the only way that John Doe would know that what's his name's wife was pregnant is that she begged for the life of her unborn child when he killed her. Okay. And at least that's what John Doe said.
Right.
And so you can take it for what it is.
But
he
he's
is
not
a psychopath.
reliable narrator.
Right.
Right.
So take it for what it is, but he knew.
Right.
So he figured out somehow, maybe we don't know how. And he also knew that Morgan Freeman knew.
Right.
How did he know that?
That is what made us discuss this back when the original podcast happened in the parking lot of the movie theater after watching this movie.
Yeah.
We were like, well, was he said, because they established throughout the movie that he was kind of a stalker of Mills. Otherwise, he wouldn't know that he's a freaking head case. So was he following her, and was he sitting in that diner when those two were talking? Because yes, you're right. She pleaded for the life of her unborn child, but
allegedly,
he used that information to piss him off and send him over the edge. So did he really find out that information when he knew that Morgan Freeman knew?
I don't know that he knew that Morgan Freeman knew. I'd have to go back and review it.
He definitely did.
How does he definitely?
At him, he goes, he didn't know. He looks right at Morgan Freeman.
He doesn't. Yeah,
in
he
a
doesn't.
sarcastic way and says he didn't know.
Yeah, but he could say that whether or not Morgan Freeman knew, because he's so tickled that he told him something he didn't already know.
Like
if he's working under
he
the,
said it.
it's purposely done that
he
way.
said it in
I
a
didn't
way.
read it that way, boys.
This is a James Gunn moment.
I did. I read it that way.
I always read it that way.
He said it in a way that this is something me and you know, and he doesn't.
He said it in that
that's
way. If you read it that way, but we'll have to put a big old pin in this conversation for next week's episode.
Dan and Post.
No, for next week's episode, Travis, you'll know what I'm talking about. Maybe put a pin in it.
Oh yes. I know what you're talking about.
Put a pin in it. Big old pin.
Hold on, I've almost got back to the autopsy.
But you
scene.
have to understand that if there's so much in this movie that's done on purpose, like the rain being torrential on Monday and slowly the sun coming out throughout the week.
All right.
That's a detail that Fincher did. To me, if you're going to put that much detail into the story, that you're going to tell a story about the weather becoming clear right before the entire world collapses on Mills, then that little tilt of the head, sarcastic, he didn't know.
Hi, this is Dan in Post. It seems we've stumbled upon another windy theory, because if a director does a lot of things intentionally, then anything you make up must also be the intention of the director, guys. Anyway, back to the show.
Put a pin in this, because we're gonna watch the autopsy scene for the fantastic nutsack.
For the nutsack, yeah.
And then we're gonna go back to. Then we're gonna go to the diner.
We're Tarantinoing this movie.
We're gonna go to the diner and see if he's there at all.
Right.
And then we're gonna go to the scene where he says he didn't know, and we're gonna make a decision right now. So here's autopsy. And you said which character?
Look at that shit.
All right, so
there.
which character was the one that you were gushing about?
Huh? This guy.
McGinley or something?
Oh, he's in the sloth scene. I think is the first time you see him.
Oh, okay.
He runs the FBI force group, the SWAT guys.
No, I thought you said that they were. Okay, never mind. I thought. All right.
No, it's two different scenes we're talking about. There's
Oh my.
there's
gosh.
nutsack, purple body. That's not a real body. That's a makeup on a person, or it's just the dummy. But it's phenomenal. Not the nutsack, the makeup.
All right.
Actually, today was the first time I noticed that there was actual nutsack.
I didn't notice nutsack.
Or last night when I watched it.
The wonders of high definition, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. It's not hidden. But
Wait, you blew past all the good stuff.
What good stuff?
They walk around that body and they just show a lot of detail. But you
Oh,
can watch it later.
I just wanted to
in
see
your
the
own
nutsack.
time. Your own free
All
time.
right, let's go back. Hold on.
Go back, because they do a crotch shot over the shoulder of, I think, Mills when he's talking. You can see the taint.
They do a crotch
and the nuts.
shot.
Yeah, it's like a taint.
Dan, you're
taint.
gonna put all this in the episode, right?
It's a taint shot.
This is the after credits. I'm leaving all this.
Is this the week that we start a Patreon?
There's the fat toes, taint shot.
There is so much detail.
There's a bag of stomach. This guy has way too much information. I love it. He reminds me of the doctor in what was that show? We brought it up in the show. How he had so much expose that you're like, you have to have the doctor talk this way because no one else talks this way.
Why hadn't they put the menthol on their upper lip yet?
I don't know.
All right, never mind. Let's keep going.
I did love the apartment full of car air fresheners.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, I have a funny story about that. Dan, are you familiar with the Opie and Anthony show?
I'm aware
Radio
that it
radio
exists,
show?
but I've never listened to it.
Okay. So I used to call into that show a lot. I was a regular caller. And they did an episode where they visited Jim Norton, who's a stand-up comedian. They visited Jim Norton's apartment in New York City. And they did it on camera. And they were talking about how it was like a serial killer's apartment and the stuff that was in there. And did I text or did I email? This was before Twitter. Can't remember how I sent them the message, but they read it on over the air where I was like, is there 1,000 air fresheners hanging from the ceiling or something like that? And they're like, Travis from I think I said New Jersey. Travis from New Jersey wants to know if there's 1,000 air fresheners hanging from the ceiling.
So funny. All right,
What's in the box?
Diner scene coming up.
Just so you know, I've watched the scene multiple times to see if I could see his head or his face.
There he is. He's cooking eggs.
I've tried to look at every person sitting in there to see if it's him, because there's no other way that he knows.
I don't think
so
he knows, man.
That
I think
Freeman
that
knows.
he's so happy with himself for having broken this news, and instead of saying that to Brad Pitt, who is devastated, he says it to the straight man in the conversation. Like, oh, look what I just did to your partner. I just told him a secret. He doesn't have to know that Morgan Freeman already knows.
So, Travis, you've done this already, and you did not see... Oh, there's a bald guy.
That is a bald guy, but he's sitting with somebody and talking to her. So
yeah,
it's
that's
not
true.
him. I was trying to see if there was like a guy sitting right behind her that had like a hat on or something. You know, that Ninja Turtles disguise
Yeah.
that he had as a reporter. He's not going to pop up.
All right, well, I'm going to move on since you've already done this
I've done
research.
this.
I trust you.
I just know that's a loaded line. It's just a loaded line.
All right, and very
But
last...
I understand what Dan's saying, but I'm just saying it's for 25 years it's burdened me.
Well, we need to get Mr. Fincher on the line
Yeah, we need to get him.
and ask him about that line.
It ranks up there with my question for John Landis about her collecting American memorabilia.
What was the question about that?
Was David part of that collection?
Yeah, no,
Wait,
I
that's
totally
not even
buy
a
that. Yeah,
question.
no, that's
Absolutely.
legit. Yeah, you nailed that one.
Absolutely.
But then that kind of cheapens her like motives. Like, did she fall in love with him, or was she just collecting them?
No, it doesn't.
That's what she's into. She brought him home
I-
because he's exactly what she was looking for.
I collect guitars, and I love them. Here we go. We're in the desert. There's
That was
a
the weirdest part of the scene, is
delivery man.
the truck in the middle of nowhere driving out there to deliver a box.
Paid him $500, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, 100
He's
years ago,
opening-
he was like, you got to bring this Western Union telegram to this exact spot and hand it to a kid and a...
Right. Doc.
He's okay. Now the scene's over, but we're
I love when he
right
says,
here.
"Shut the fuck up, you piece of shit."
That is great. Hold on, let's
So
go
good.
back a little bit just so that we can get that part.
I'll take all the overacting in the beginning just to get me to that point from him,
It's
because
definitely
he is consistent.
It's definitely after this. Hold on. He's gonna retrieve the package.
Oh wait, Christian Bale was the delivery guy.
Was he really?
No.
No. That would have been great casting.
That would have been great. Morgan Freeman is so good in this friggin' movie. Just the little things he does.
This?
Just like everything. Like it's so calculated, everything he's doing. Like there's the shit on the page, and then there's the shit the actor does. It is some of Gwyneth Paltrow's best acting, is that scene.
From the inside of the box that you don't see. That's what I'm saying. They
look,
show
look
you
how he plays against
They show
it.
you just enough. All right, so this is what I'm saying about the effects and everything. Like, you don't see Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
But you see it in your head.
Right. You
Mhm.
see it in your head. Also, they did show you earlier in the movie, like, pages from inside books that he's looking at, and where like there's a dude holding his own head out, like that illustration. I forget what book it was from. And then like you see in the lawyer's office, there's like, it's basically like a reverse bust. That's like a statue with no arms and no head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's like headless shit all throughout this whole movie. All right, let's keep going. But they don't show you the head.
No, they don't. They could have. If Rob Zombie did this
Right.
movie, he would have pulled that head
Right,
out.
but they did not.
Yeah.
They showed
Didn't
you the
have to.
fat guy on the gurney. They did not show you, or the table. They did not show you the head. They showed.
showed
They
his head.
just showed the perfect amount of shit. Let's just keep going.
We saw his nutsack.
Now, do you know, in my recollection, I kept trying to think, what sin did Gwyneth Paltrow's character have?
None.
And she
None.
has none. Guys, that like adds so much, and I don't know why I had forgotten that, but yeah, it adds so much sinister nature to that final kill. Like, that guy
Yeah.
who shall not be named plays a really evil bad guy.
But and it makes sense. Like people are like, well, why did she have to die? She wasn't part of the story or his goal. And it's like, but she had to die to get there. If she doesn't die, he doesn't go wrath. He doesn't go vengeance.
She didn't die for any of her sins.
Right. She died for his.
She died for his.
Guys, she died in the chaos of life, and it was her death that led to the downfall of our hero and White Knight Mills, as he is taken down by the Joker from the Dark Knight, leaving only our Dark Knight, Morgan Freeman, who is already cynical, to be the last man standing.
Actually, this very scene here is the three. It's the second triumvirate.
There you go.
Standing there.
I mean, that's essentially the same thing, guys.
This is the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Here we
go. We came to this scene for a specific line.
Yes,
we haven't gotten to it yet.
We haven't gotten to it yet.
John Doe has the upper hand.
I love how Freeman throws his gun away.
Oh yeah, he's like,
it's It's over. It's done. I don't need this.
I think Freeman's also trying to avoid the wrath of Brad Pitt, reduce his own threatening posture.
Yes.
And that oh god scene. That's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Ugh, I'm sorry.
He doesn't have to know. He doesn't have to know.
I know, but I'm reading it that way.
You can read it that way by adding to the scene, right? You can add that to, but if you're going strictly by the evidence presented, there is no affirmative evidence that he knew that Morgan Freeman knew already. So it might make it better for you to think it that way. It's not presented in a way that you can 100% prove that it isn't the case, but there's no affirmative evidence that he knows that Morgan Freeman knows. Just like there's no affirmative evidence that James Gumb is the son of that dead lady.
Okay, so hold on. There is a little there's a teeny tiny bit of evidence that John Doe knows that Morgan Freeman knows.
What's that?
It comes just after John Doe delivers the line about the unborn child. Because up until that point, Freeman doesn't touch him, and he does tell him to shut up.
Right.
Twice. But when he's delivering the line, and the life of your unborn child, he smacks him.
Right, like shut up.
Right.
Like double shut up.
Right. So maybe that was the cue that told John Doe that Morgan knows.
And then it's just like the Joker saying, I almost thought you were Dent, and does Dent know about you and his main squeeze, right? I mean, we're back to the Dark Knight again, guys.
Again, like Dan said, I can buy that as well. But I'm just going by my 24 years of just
hope and dreams. I get it.
Hope and dreams.
Dude.
Listen, I've always known that Mrs. Lippman's son is James Gumb.
And you've always known that John Doe is in that diner.
Jack Gordon.
And you've always known that John Carpenter created Halloween out of whole cloth and is the master of horror. So why would we do anything to corrupt your values?
I don't know. I'm going to have to get somebody on the phone. I might have to find the original script and see if it says it in there. Because I'm assuming the stage direction for John Doe would tell you what that look is.
That'd be a worthy bit of homework. Yeah, do that and report back next week.